Hi, my name is Pastor Jerry Ingalls from First Baptist Church in Newcastle, Indiana, and we're on a journey together studying the Bible one chapter at a time. I'm writing a short devotional thought on that chapter and sharing that with you. Today we're looking at Acts chapter 18. Are you blooming where you've been planted? Listen to Acts chapter 18, verses 1 through 4. After this, Paul left Athens and went to Corinth, and he found a Jew named Aquila, a native of Pontus, recently come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had commanded all the Jews to leave Rome. And he went to see them, and because he was of the same trade, he stayed with them and worked, for they were tent makers by trade. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and tried to persuade Jews and Greeks. Now, I'm going to simplify the history of this. Because of a government edict, this mature ministry couple, Priscilla and Aquila, were forced to go to Corinth. So how did this mature ministry couple respond to the heartbreak of being kicked out of their native Rome? Well, we see in verse 18 that Paul took in Priscilla and Aquila with him after his 18 months in Corinth. And it's assumed, it can be presumed, that the reason he did that is because he found them mature. He found them faithful. Okay? Then in verse 19, Paul trusted them enough to lead them in Ephesus. Why? Now, was that salt in the wound to them? Because, once you've been kicked out of a city, exiled, if you will, it's easy to become self-conscious, self-consumed with a sense that, oh, woe is me, the world is against me. So when Paul left them in Ephesus, they could have seen that as another betrayal, another abandonment, but they didn't. Paul entrusted to them the mentorship of a gifted new brother, Apollos. He didn't betray them, he didn't abandon them, he didn't leave them behind. He entrusted to them work that he felt they were uniquely qualified for. So according to Acts 18, verses 24 to 28, Apollos, who was like the Billy Graham of his generation, when he started his ministry, he had a huge hole in his gospel. He did not know about the baptism of Jesus. He only knew about the baptism of John. And so this ministry couple was entrusted to provide theological training, ministry equipping. It's kind of like they were the seminary professors, if you will. So what is a mature ministry couple to do when life is not going their way, but God has all these opportunities available to them? Well, I'll tell you what you're to do. You're definitely not to shelf yourself by having self-pity. You're supposed to bloom where you're planted. Start working at what God's given you to do right there, even if it's not where you wanted to live. Maybe you're not in your preferred city. Maybe you got left behind and some pastor or some missionary moved on and you're left in that church or in this location without that person that you wish was still there. There are Apolloses in your midst. There is work for you to do. How are you being faithful? Did God effectively use Priscilla and Aquila? Absolutely yes. I mean, as I said earlier, Apollos was like the Billy Graham of his generation. This couple was responsible for maturing him and helping him preach the full gospel. Okay, that their maturity led to the dynamic growth of the church because they invested in someone. They didn't take it personal, but they allowed God to use them personally. Seize the moment and trust God enough to bloom where you've been planted. Seize the moment.